Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
I was just 23, fresh out of university, and full of ambition when I landed my first big break at terrifying explorations. My name is Violet Schenk, and I was thrilled to be a junior geological survey assistant, working in the vast, beautiful, but unforgiving deserts of the Southwest. The job involved long days, meticulous data collection, and even longer drives to remote survey points. It was everything I'd dreamed of, except for one glaring, toxic problem: my senior field supervisor, Norman Higgins. Norman, a man in his late 50s, was a relic of an older era, all bluster and casual misogyny. From day one, he made it clear he didn't think a young woman like me belonged in the field. He'd belittle my findings, make snide comments about my delicate hands, and constantly try to steal credit for my detailed reports during team briefings. But the real issue, the one that ate away at my patience and put my safety at risk, was his drinking. Every evening, without fail, Norman would retreat to his motel room or the nearest dusty roadside bar and drink himself into a stupor. This meant that every morning, reeking of stale whiskey and regret, he'd delegate the driving of his company-issued satellite-tracked custom Ford Raptor 4x4 to me. We cover hundreds of miles daily, me behind the wheel navigating treacherous desert tracks while he snored, passed out in the passenger seat. The worst part: he'd meticulously log all that mileage, along with hefty per diem expenses, claiming he was the one driving and working. My complaints to HR were met with vague reassurances about mentorship and team dynamics. My career, my very first step into the professional world, felt like it was being systematically sabotaged by this arrogant, drunken fool. The final straw came after I identified a critical geological anomaly that could significantly impact our client's project. I presented my findings, complete with detailed maps and data, only for Norman to scoff at them in front of our GM, Benjamin Hahn, and a room full of senior colleagues. He dismissed my work as overzealous amateurism, and then, later in private, threatened to ensure my contract wasn't renewed if I didn't learn to stay in my lane. That night, watching him stumble out of the bar, keys to the Raptor jingling, I decided enough was enough. This wasn't just about my job, it was about justice. I had been meticulously documenting everything for weeks: photos of empty liquor bottles in his room, timestamps of when I started driving versus his recorded mileage logs, audio recordings of his abusive remarks. My plan was to use his own vices and the company's tech against him. The Raptor, like all terrifying field vehicles, was equipped with a dash cam, a sophisticated GPS tracker, and an emergency satellite beacon, a red button hidden under the dash designed to alert HQ and dispatch emergency services in a crisis. This was my weapon. The next evening, driving back from a particularly remote site, Norman was predictably dead to the world in the passenger seat. I purposefully chose a stretch of road known locally as the Serpent's Coil, a series of steep, winding descents with sheer drop-offs just a few miles from our main field office. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows, I discreetly switched on my phone's audio recorder, positioned for his side of the cabin. Then, with a deep breath, I executed the plan. I deliberately swerved the heavy 4x4, slamming on the brakes with a sickening grind, as if we'd hit something. Simultaneously, I pressed a button on a small, powerful Bluetooth speaker I had hidden in my glove box, unleashing a pre-recorded, terrifyingly realistic sound of a tire exploding and metal scraping. "Oh my God, the brakes are gone, we're going over," I screamed, my voice laced with manufactured terror. Norman rocketed awake, his eyes wide with a mixture of confusion and pure unadulterated fear. He reeked of cheap bourbon and panic. What happened?" he slurred, scrambling to grab the steering wheel, his movements clumsy and uncoordinated. I repeatedly jabbed the emergency beacon button, the small red light flashing under the dash, silently broadcasting our distress to terrified HQ. "We hit something, I can't control it. Grab the wheel, Norman, grab the wheel," I yelled, feigning a struggle for control, letting the Raptor veer precariously close to the cliff edge. He clawed at the wheel, his face a mask of primal terror, eyes darting between the road and the dizzying drop. His attempts to take control were pathetic, a drunk man flailing, unable to comprehend the situation. All of it, his slurred panic, his desperate, incompetent attempts to regain control, my frightened screams, was captured perfectly by the Raptor's dashcam and my own discreet audio recording. After a terrifying minute, I regained control, pulling the vehicle to a safe, though still shaky, stop. Norman was a mess, hyperventilating, his expensive field jacket stained with sweat and a faint, acrid smell that hinted at more than just fear. He was utterly disoriented, trying to piece together what had happened, his threats now replaced with whimpers. It wasn't long before Benjamin Hahn, our GM, arrived, followed by a company medic, alerted by the emergency beacon. He found Norman, still visibly shaken and smelling like a brewery, trying to coherently explain a non-existent crash. I, on the other hand, was calm, if a little teary-eyed, describing a sudden, terrifying incident that I barely managed to avert. Benjamin, a shrewd man, noticed Norman's state immediately. The medic confirmed his high blood alcohol level. With a heavy sigh, Benjamin informed Norman that the dashcam footage and the emergency beacon logs would be reviewed. "Violet, I'll need to speak with you privately after this," he said, his gaze firm. In his office the next day, I presented my meticulously collected evidence. The GPS logs contrasting my driving with Norman's mileage claims, the audio recordings of his abuse, the photos of his drinking, and the damning dashcam footage of him in a drunken panic, attempting to take control during the emergency. The evidence was overwhelming. Norman was fired on the spot for gross misconduct, severe safety violations, and egregious mileage fraud. The fallout was swift and absolute. Norman's reputation in the tight-knit industry was shattered. Too old to easily start over, too disgraced to be hired by any reputable firm, he essentially vanished from the professional world. His carefully built career, his financial stability, all of it crumbled. As for me, Benjamin Hahn, impressed by my meticulous documentation and my resilience, offered me a promotion to lead junior surveyor and ironically my own company-issued Raptor. I flourished, my career finally on the trajectory I had always envisioned. Norman Higgins became a cautionary tale, a ghost in the desert winds. The desert, I learned, is a harsh mistress, but a fair one. It takes what isn't meant to stay and clears the way for what deserves to thrive. Norman's downfall was complete, a fitting end to a man who tried to bury my career in the desert. I sleep soundly now, knowing justice was served.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.